You've worked for decades, you've saved carefully, and you finally got this picture of the perfect retirement. Maybe it's travel, maybe a hobby, maybe it's just relaxing. But then, well, life happens, right? Maybe an unexpected, really interesting project comes up. Or just a chance to keep earning some money. Does taking that chance mess up everything you thought you knew about Social Security? That's exactly the spot our listener, Protili Ochagins, is in. A scientist right on the edge of retirement suddenly gets this pretty tempting project offer just as they're hitting their full retirement age. So this deep dive is really for you, Protogens, and anyone else who's at that kind of crossroads, working versus retiring, and how Social Security fits in. We're going to try and untangle what it means for your benefits, your taxes, and, the whole retirement picture. We've gathered stuff from real questions people are asking online, like on Reddit, but also solid analysis from places like Merrill Lynch, research from Brookings Institution, and practical guides like Investopedia. So our goal today, let's cut through the confusion. Let's clarify what happens when you work past full retirement age and collect Social Security. We'll look at the tax side and even touch on the bigger picture, how Social Security works, its future, just so you can make really informed choices. Is it actually possible to, have your cake and eat it too, collect Social Security, keep earning? And what are those little details Protogens and maybe you are wondering about?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And to really get at it, we have to start with the basics. What is Social Security? So officially, it's the Old Age Survivors and Disability Insurance Program, OASDI. And it's funded primarily by payroll taxes, FICA taxes. Employees pay some, employers pay some. If you're self-employed, you pay both shares. These taxes, they don't just go into one big pile. They go into specific trust funds. The main one for retirement is the Old Age and Survivors Insurance, or OASI fund. And that's what pays out current benefits.
Oh, okay. So it's like the money coming in from people working now is paying for the people who are retired now. It's not like my own personal piggy bank building up over the years.
Exactly. That's a really common misconception. It's largely a pay-as-you-go system. Mm-hmm. So there isn't some vault somewhere with your name on a pile of cash earning interest. It's more like a transfer. Money comes in from today's workers. It goes out to today's retirees and other beneficiaries. Any extra gets invested, sure, but it's in U.S. Treasury bonds. The whole thing really depends on having enough workers supporting retirees.
Right. Okay. That makes sense on the funding side. Now, what about the benefit side? How do they figure out how much you actually get? Because it's definitely not the same for everyone.
No, not at all. It's very personalized. It's based almost entirely on your lifetime earnings history. Social Security looks at your entire work record, picks out your 35 highest earning years, adjusts those earnings for wage inflation over time. That gets you your average index monthly earnings, or AIM, and then they run that AIM through a formula to calculate your primary insurance amount, the PIA. That's like your baseline full benefit amount.
So somebody who had high earnings for, say, 35 or 40 years is going to get a lot more than someone who maybe worked part-time or had lower wages or took time off. What's the range look like generally?
Yeah, the difference can be pretty significant. For instance, around mid-2024, the average monthly benefit was about $8,870. Mm-hmm. So, maybe $22,400 a year. But for someone who earned the maximum taxable amount throughout their career and waited until age 70 to claim, their maximum monthly benefit could be closer to $4,873. That's over $58,000 a year. Big difference.
Wow, okay. Huge range. And this brings us to something really, really critical for Protogens and for anyone planning this stuff. Full retirement age, FRA. Why is that age such a big deal?
FRA is, well, it's the magic age where you're eligible to receive 100% of that primary insurance amount we just talked about. Your full benefit, no reductions. Depends on when you were born. It's somewhere between 66 and 67 now. For Protogens, being 66 and 8 months, they're right at their FRA. And hitting that FRA is massive, especially if you're thinking about continuing to work.
Right. This is where it gets super interesting for Protogens. Because before your FRA, if you work and earn too much, they actually reduce your benefits, don't they? Like for 2024, if you earn over $22,320, they take back $1 for every $2 you earn above that. It's called the earnings test. But once you hit FRA, that limit just vanishes. Poof, you can earn anything.
That's exactly it. Total game changer. The moment you reach your full retirement age, the earnings test no longer applies to you. You can earn $1 million a year from working, and your Social Security check will still arrive, unreduced. It gives people like Protogens enormous flexibility if they want to keep working without worrying about, losing benefits they feel they've earned.
Okay, so Protogens takes this project, they're working past FRA, getting their Social Security checks. What about FICA taxes? Do they still have to pay those on the income from the new project, or does that stop?
Good question. And the answer often surprises people. Yes, absolutely yes. Even when you're collecting Social Security benefits, if you have earned income from a job or self-employment, you still pay FICA taxes on that income. Those contributions just keep flowing into the system.
Okay, and the follow-up everyone asks, do those extra taxes I'm paying actually make my own Social Security benefit go up later? Protogens wondered if working, one extra year automatically bumps it up by some percentage. Is it that simple?
Yeah, that's where it gets a little nuanced. It's not quite a simple percentage bump per year. Remember, your benefit is based on your highest 35 years of earnings. So if the money you're earning now, after FRA, is higher than the earnings from one of those 35 years already in your calculation, maybe a year early in your career or when you earned less than yes, that new higher earning year can kick out an older, lower earning year. Social Security automatically recalculates your benefit each year to account for this, so it can nudge your benefit up slightly over time, but it only happens if your current earnings are high enough to replace one of your previous top 35 years.
Got it. So it's not just working longer, it's working longer and earning more than you did in one of your past high years. Makes sense. Now let's talk taxes again. The thing that often catches people totally by surprise, taxes on your Social Security benefits themselves. Are they taxable?
They definitely can be, yes. This is a real aha moment, and not always a happy one, for many retirees. A portion of your Social Security benefits might be subject to federal income tax. How much depends on something called your combined income.
Combined income. Okay, that sounds like government speak. How do you figure that out? What goes into it?
Right. It's basically your adjusted gross income. Think of that as most of your taxable income plus any tax-exempt interest you might have, like from municipal bonds, plus 1/2 of your Social Security benefits for the year. Yeah, those three things together. And then there are thresholds. For single filers, if that combined income is between $25,000 and $34,000, up to 50% of your benefits could be taxed. If it's over $34,000, up to 85% could be taxed. For married couples filing jointly, the thresholds are higher. $32,000 to $44,000 for the 50% rate and over $44,000 for the 85% rate.
Wow. So for protogens, if they take that project and have a decent salary coming in on top of Social Security, that could easily push them into a bracket where a chunk of their benefits gets taxed by the federal government. And I think I read somewhere this can even affect Medicare costs.
You're absolutely right. Higher income, including from working while receiving Social Security, can trigger higher premiums for Medicare Part B and Part D. It's called IRAA, the Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. And those higher premiums, they're usually deducted right from your Social Security check automatically. So, yeah, more income is generally good, but you have to factor in potentially higher taxes on your benefits and potentially higher Medicare premiums. It's all connected.
Okay, so given all this, how should we think about Social Security in the grand scheme of retirement planning? We hear it's not supposed to be everything.
That's probably the single most important takeaway. Social Security is intended as a foundation, not the whole house. On average, it only replaces about 39% of pre-retirement earnings for someone retiring around age 65. Maybe a bit more for lower earners, less for higher earners, which just highlights how crucial other savings are: 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, pensions if you have one. Relying only on Social Security? Well, it's likely not going to lead to a very comfortable retirement for most people.
And Protogengens asked specifically about their 403b. If they keep working, can they still put money into that while getting Social Security? They mentioned issues with their HSA and Medicare.
Yes, good news there. You absolutely can keep contributing to a 403b or a 401k or a similar plan while receiving Social Security. You're right about health savings accounts, HSAs. You generally can't contribute once you enroll in Medicare, but workplace retirement plans like 403bs don't have that restriction. In fact, one strategy we saw mentioned is pretty clever. If you're working and getting Social Security, consider taking an amount roughly equal to your Social Security payment and putting it straight into your 403b. It helps keep your taxable income down a bit now, since those contributions are pre-tax, and it keeps boosting your long-term retirement savings.
That is a neat trick. Manage taxes and save more. Okay, now what if someone decides not to work or maybe just work less, but they still want to maximize their Social Security? What are these delayed retirement credits, or DRCs I keep hearing about?
DRCs are powerful. Really powerful. They're essentially a bonus Social Security gives you for waiting to claim your benefits past your full retirement age. For every single month you delay claiming, from your FRA up until age 70, your future monthly benefit gets a permanent increase. It works out to an 8% increase per year, or 2/3 of 1% per month. And this isn't temporary, it's locked in for life.
Okay, wait. So for Protogens, FRA is 66 and 8 months. If they wait until 70, that's what, 3 years and 4 months? That's like a 26 or 27% permanent increase in their monthly check just for waiting.
Exactly. It's a significant boost. If you can afford to wait, maybe by continuing to work, like Protogens is thinking, or by using other savings for a few years, delaying your claim until 70 gives you the largest possible Social Security benefit based on your record. It's a strategy that really pays off in the long run if you have average or better life expectancy.
That's a huge incentive to wait if you can swing it.
Okay, so we've looked at the individual picture. But all this assumes the system itself stays healthy. And you can't really talk about Social Security without getting into the big questions about its future, the solvency concerns. Is that worry legitimate?
It is a legitimate topic of discussion based on the official projections from the Social Security trustees. Their latest report for 2024 projects that the main trust fund for retirement benefits, the OASI fund, will be able to pay 100% of benefits until about 2033. After that, if Congress does nothing, the ongoing payroll taxes coming in would only be enough to cover about 79% of the scheduled benefits. So not zero, but a significant cut. Medicare's hospital insurance fund has a similar projection, running short around 2036.
Okay, so the system isn't projected to just evaporate overnight in 2033, but benefits could be cut by roughly 21% if nothing changes. What kinds of changes could Congress make? Right, it's not projected to collapse, but adjustments are almost certainly needed to avoid those cuts. The solutions usually debated fall into a few categories. They could raise the Social Security tax rate or apply the tax to higher levels of income. They could adjust the benefit formula, perhaps slowing the growth of initial benefits for future retirees, or they could raise the full retirement age again, likely some combination of these.
And tied into this whole future debate, there's this really strong feeling from some people reflected in the sources that Social Security isn't a government handout, it's their money. They emphasize the earned right aspect, arguing that calling it a federal benefit payment is like a deliberate attempt to frame it as welfare, maybe make it easier to cut later.
Yes, that perspective comes through very strongly. Many people feel a deep sense of ownership because they and their employers paid into the system their entire working lives. They see it as a deferred compensation or an insurance program they paid premiums for, not as a government entitlement program in the same vein as, say, food stamps. The language used really matters to people and reflects fundamentally different views of the program's nature.
And this earned right feeling often connects to the whole debate around privatization, doesn't it? The idea that maybe individuals could do better investing the money themselves. What are the main arguments there?
Exactly. The pro-privatization arguments often center on potential returns. Proponents say that if individuals could invest their Social Security contributions in the stock market, for example, they might achieve much higher long-term returns than the implicit return they get from the current pay-as-you-go system. They also talk about giving people more control and ownership over their retirement funds, fostering a stronger savings culture.
Okay, potentially higher returns, more individual control, sounds appealing on the surface. But what are the big obstacles or downsides to trying to privatize a system this massive?
Oh, the challenges are enormous. Probably the biggest is the transition cost. How do you pay benefits to tens of millions of current retirees and older workers if the contributions from younger workers are suddenly being diverted into private accounts? It would likely require massive government borrowing, potentially trillions of dollars, to cover those legacy obligations during the switch. That's a huge fiscal hurdle. Another major concern is the potential impact on Social Security's role as social insurance. The current system is progressive. It provides a bigger relative benefit boost to lower-wage workers. Private accounts wouldn't necessarily have that redistributive effect, which could worsen retirement inequality and poverty.
So it might undermine the safety net aspect.
It could, yes. Plus, you have issues like administrative costs. Running millions of individual private accounts is generally more expensive than administering the current unified Social Security system, which is known for its very low overhead. And some economists argue you could achieve similar goals like higher returns or increased national saving through reforms within the public system, maybe by allowing the trust funds to invest differently or moving towards more advanced funding without the risks and costs of full privatization. It's incredibly complex.
Wow, yeah, definitely complex. Okay, this has been incredibly insightful. So let's try to quickly recap the big takeaways. Working past your full retirement age while getting Social Security, totally possible, very flexible. But definitely watch out for the tax implications, how your combined income affects taxes on benefits and potentially your Medicare premiums. Paying those FICA taxes while working might give your benefit a small boost later, but only if your current earnings are high enough to replace a lower year in your top 35. We've really hit home that Social Security is just one piece of the puzzle. Other savings like 403(d)s are absolutely essential, and the future of Social Security itself. Well, it's a major ongoing discussion. Projections show changes are needed to keep it fully funded long term, and there are these big debates about how to do that, including the whole privatization question. The path to retirement, it's rarely just a straight line like Prodigents found out, whether you end up working longer, or maybe you choose to delay claiming benefits to get those DRCs, or you focus on maxing out other accounts. Understanding all these moving parts is just crucial. And maybe the question isn't only about the money, right? It's also about finding purpose and meaning in those later years. Paid work, unpaid work, volunteering, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So maybe something to think about for yourself. What does that sweet gig look like for you in your later years? What might blend that sense of purpose with maybe still earning, maybe not? What's your ideal mix?